Hello and welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. My name is Cody Reed, and it is Wednesday. That means it is time for Season 1, Episode 9 of Visceral Musings. And that brings us, we only have 2 more episodes left till the season is over. After Episode 10, we are going to be done. And with this project that you're listening to, this whole thing that I created on my own. I'm very proud of it. So if you're listening for the first time, thank you. The topic of today's episode is going to be the 2006 album When Your Heart Stops Beating by the band Plus 44, which is 2/3 of the band Blink-182. And we're going to be talking about why I think that it deserves a little bit more credit. It seems to be a recurring theme that I'm telling you that things deserve more credit. But this album got fucking panned by so many critics when it came out. And but before that, we're going to get into what I'm up to this week. We're going to chat a little bit about what I got going on. So strap in, folks. Let's hang out. We eat ass with a passion. Mariska Hargitay, bitches. I've graduated from furries to fishing. Oh, sperm. Yum, get you some. Shut the fuck up. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Visceral Musings. It is Season 1, Episode 9. Mariska Hargitay, bitches. I am your host, Cody Reed, a.k.a. Roller Pig, a.k.a. the C Word. And, man, I got a lot of stuff to go over today. Well, first off, Season 1, Episode 9, which is wild because I did this whole thing, started this whole little project. It was years in it sounds kind of dramatic, but it was a couple years that it took me to actually get this thing to come to fruition. But yeah, this is going to be it. We got 2 more episodes left this season, and then we're going to take 1 week off. Well, not a week off. There'll be something. But then coming back, Season 2, I want to interview a bunch of different people. I want to get different perspectives. I want to talk to other people about their favorite things. So, yeah, if you're just now joining us, if this is the first time for you, well, strap in because we got a hot one for you. Another solo episode, a little bit of solo play. I don't have anybody to talk to about this album at the moment, so I decided that it would be. I decided to take it upon myself. Take one for the team. So, but first, let's open it up to the world of Instagram. I am coming to you from the Valley of Arizona, where there is a pollution warning in effect. So breathe less today. Carpool. Save a horse. Ride a cowboy. All right. First question comes from my friend Luke. I'm not going to read you his Instagram handle because it's kind of a doozy. But first question, do you eat ass? Well, my mother listens to this podcast, you son of a bitch. Yes, we've been here. We've already discussed this. Both Night Owl and Night Fury both do partake in the eating of the butt. That would be, what is that, analingus? I don't know. But yes, we've gone over this one before, and my mom did also hear that episode. So shouts out Josh Smith, if you happen to hear this, the other half of our crime-fighting duo. We eat ass with a passion, the same passion that we have for justice. I like that to carry over into the bedroom. So thank you for asking, Luke. If you're asking in hopes of getting your own butt eaten, I like White Claw. So let's start there. Let's see what's next. At iDupierre, Ian Dupierre asks, does it hang left or right? Well, see, I don't like to get political on this show. Let's just get right out the gate. I don't like to get political. Does it hang left or right? But I will say we have an election coming up with an absolute train wreck of options for us to pick. We have Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, and we have Donald Trump, which is basically like saying, would you rather have syphilis or would you rather get gonorrhea? Well, yeah, tough question. And so, yeah, our fucking choices this year, man, that's so crazy. We're right back to fucking Biden and Trump. Your options are a literal criminal or a fucking fall risk. And I get what's crazy about that. If you say that, our options are a literal criminal versus a fall risk. You don't know who the fuck I'm talking about. That could be either or. So I don't know, man. Does it hang left or right? Well, no, it doesn't hang at all. It idles. If that's what you're talking about, my penis. Thank you for bringing it up. Very insecure about that. So yeah, let's put it out there in the open, Ian. You fucking asshole. Thanks for bringing that up. I was having a great day up until now, but I'm gonna trucker through this. The only thing tougher than a trucker is a trucker's wife. So next question. Now that I'm nice and pissed off, at Pierce the Romance, she asks, big silverware or small silverware? Motherfucker. Big silverware or little silverware? God damn it. Enunciate. What an adorable question. I'm going big silverware on this one. I don't know what that says about me. I feel like this is one of those like what's your favorite Vonnegut book type questions. But yeah, I use the big silverware. I have a big palm, and so my big fucking nasty leathery mitts they fit better on the big silverware, and then I can shovel food into my mouth so I can instead of dealing with my feelings, I usually just do that. Instead of dealing with the fact that it don't hang, I usually just pile food into my mouth until I feel better about myself. But yeah, big silverware. I'm a big silverware guy. What about you? Y'all out there listening, I wonder, do you eat with big silverware or do you eat with small silverware? Actually, I will say I fucking love. So I really do. I'll fuck up some ice cream. And when I do, I like to eat. I like a small spoon with my ice cream. I think that's the perfect way to eat ice cream is with a little spoon. And we actually have two different kinds. We have some that are flat. It has like a flat handle, and then we have others that have like a square handle. I like to get the one with the square handle, and then like with the small spoon. And that's like I feel like such a bad bitch when I'm sitting on the couch with a little tub of Ben and Jerry's, and I'm watching my drag queens or whatever. That is the most slay I'll ever feel in my entire life. Next question comes from Ben Young. Ben Young, it is May 14th at the time of recording this, so happy birthday, Ben Young. He is one of my best buddies, and I love him dearly. So I do want to take a moment and say happy birthday, Ben Young. My biggest fan. I'm also your biggest fan. So he asked a whole slew of questions. I didn't pick them all out because hold up one second.
Seltzer water break.
I didn't answer them all, or I didn't write them all down because he asked a lot, and I asked these questions. I do these Q&A thingies in advance because I always anticipate that people are not going to actually ask any questions, and so this time I actually got a few. But for Ben's birthday, let's answer a couple of his questions, which at the time of this episode coming out will be the 15th, so it was yesterday. So if you see Ben, tell him happy belated birthday. Go spank him a couple dozen times now. No, not a couple dozen. A couple, I don't know, how much would it be? Holy shit. Ben's in his early 20s, so he's going to get quite the spanking. Next time I see you, Ben, I'm going to spank you. If you could join a band, actually, you know what? I'm going to skip that one, and I'm going to come back to it. Has your ass ever been eaten? God damn it, dude. Come on. My mom is listening, I hope. Hi, Mom. No, actually. And, I was just not pissed off, and I'm right back on my old shit. I'm pissed off again. Why is I'm generous. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think I really have much of a desire to get rimmed, to be real with you. I've never really thought about that a whole lot, actually. I've never been like, hey, you know what would be really cool? I've never brought that up before. So to answer your question, no, it hasn't. But I'm okay with that. I think I'll be all right. I'll take a back seat on that one. What's next? Funniest drinking story. So I did look at this a little bit in advance, and I tried to think about something, and I couldn't really think of anything that was like that stuck out immediately, but I do remember this one time we were hanging out. It was the Negative 32 guys. It was me, Josh, Braden. Jonathan doesn't usually come out with us, so it was us and the band, Phil the band. So we were playing a show in Prescott at this old venue that used to be up called The Den. If any local bands have ever played at The Den, they know that that place was so fucking rad. It was like this really cool, like punk rock approach, DIY, turn a fucking warehouse into a venue, have like they wanted to build a skate park in there. They were going to have a coffee. There was so much ambition in this place, and I loved it. The dude who ran it, his name was Steven. I loved his idea. I was so about it. Every time we'd come to Prescott, it felt so fucking cool to be just like immersed into that whole world of like that he was trying to create with this awesome like little venue. And so anyway, Phil and Negative 32 played. I don't remember who else was on the bill, but I'm sure it was it was a good one. Every show we played in Prescott was awesome. But they had an Airbnb, and so we were playing with them the next day at the Nile Underground in Mesa. So we stayed with them in Prescott, and hanging out with the Phil guys is sometimes dangerous because you will drink a lot more than you mean to because they're just like, that's what happens. You go out and you hang out with your buddies and you drink a shitload. So we started the night at this bar downtown. It's like a little club. I think it's called 1889. So we were hanging out there, and Ian's a fucking redneck. So he wants to work his way down to like this redneck bar that I told him was fun. And so we start there at 1889. And I remember one of us, this is where I'm going to stop telling you who did what, but one of us had never had an AMF before, the adios motherfucker. That's how they started the night. So that's a crazy way to start the night. And that's the first thing he did. He gets an AMF, and then we start moving on from there. So we work our way down to this, I can't remember the name of the place. It wasn't like the Birdcage, but it was like, it's this like country bar that has a stage upstairs. And it was Josh's birthday also at the time, Josh McPeak. It was his birthday. So we're all hanging out, and then we're working our way down the bars, and then we ended up getting down to this like other bar that has an outdoor area. And I could always tell when I was like fucked up because we're drinking Coors Light. And I don't fucking like Coors Light, but it's usually cheap. And then I remember Braden and I were sitting down with like all the Phil guys, and we're all drinking Coors Light. And then I was starting to feel it. I was like, oh shit, dude, I think I'm donezo. Still a great night though. And then we migrated over to the Lizard Lounge, and I got kicked out for fucking high-fiving people. And I don't know why that was my thing that night, but I was trying to high-five as many people as I could. And I was walking around, and I liked to. My thing that night was, because I was fucking drunk and obnoxious, I was walking up to people and saying, hey man, it's great to see you. And they were like, what? You too, dude. And then I was just like, high five. So then like I was high fiving everybody, and I had a tally going of how many high fives I could get. And yeah, the Lizard Lounge, dude, they were not rocking with that whatsoever. So I remember I said, hey man, it's nice to see you. I said that to the bartender, and he was like, that's fucking weird. That's a weird thing to do, man. And I was like, oh shit. So then one of the other guys, I'm helping him buy cigarettes from a vending machine that they have inside of that place. And then our other guy is sleeping at the he was sleeping at our table basically. So I guess that was I don't know where I'm going with this story, but we got kicked out of the bar, and I thought that was really funny. And then we went to this like little pizza joint. We bought a pizza and went back to the Airbnb that we had, and then I don't remember much until probably about 9 a.m. And then we drove to Mesa. I had to have Braden drive my car because I was so fucking hungover. But then we took pictures, the Phil guys did. This is back when I used to play with them. And so I was doing 2 sets every night. But we went to Mesa, and if you ever see Phil, the band has a song called The Wayside. The album cover, we took that picture the day after we were in Prescott, and I'm in it, and I'm wearing a beanie, and I was catastrophically hungover. Like, I was so fucking sick, and like I felt like shit. And then we went, and I played 2 shows that night. So yeah, that was a pretty good one. But anyway, circling back, if you could join a band from any time, who would it be? And I thought about this a lot. I am a big fan of Mark Hoppus, but I wouldn't want to be in Blink-182, obviously. I think that's like their own thing. But Plus 44, that's always been one that I thought of. I'm like, dude, I wish that I could play guitar in Plus 44. And I don't even play guitar by choice. I do play guitar by choice. I usually play guitar at home, but I don't play in a band And I was like, no, I'm not going to ask fucking Mark to play bass because I play bass. So I would let him, and this is me being, a teenager and like fantasizing about it. In an ideal situation, Plus 44 is coming back. They're coming back for the 20th anniversary of When Your Heart Stops Beating, and they recruit me to play guitar. That's like the daydream that I had so many times, is that I was going to be the guitar player for Plus 44. But Blink's back, and it's probably, things are as they should be. But to answer your question, I've always fucking thought about that. I've always wanted to be the guitar player for Plus 44. I've thought about it so much. To sing backup vocals from Mark Hoppus, that would be so fucking sick. Anyway, so that concludes our Instagram Q&A section, which is getting better. I will say that. It is getting much stronger. I already forgot about how fucking mad I was, so because that just redeemed it. So thank you, birthday boy Ben. Yeah, Plus 44, which is also the topic of today's episode. So that's massive shout out to Mark Hoppus. Fun fact, we are birthday brothers. We have the same birthday. Well, kind of. We have the same birth date, March 15th, but 25 years apart. So I've always thought, and I would like to point out too, I've said happy birthday to Mark in like on posts or whatever. He's never said happy birthday to me. I think that's kind of fucked up, man. I've spent so much money on your band. Bands, plural, you fucking asshole. But no, I'm a huge Mark Hoppus fan. I would love to be in Plus 44. So, a little bit about me. Let's get right back to where I'm at. So we talked during the Love Guru episode, which is why I opened up by saying Mariska Hargitay. Furries. So furries were dominating my Instagram reels. And like many variations of them too. From like the fully suited up to like just animal tail butt plug type stuff was even happening. It's been a variety of things that I've been seeing from the furries on Instagram Reels. But I'm happy to report I've been seeing about 25% fewer reels that involve furries, and I've shifted more to fishing. I don't know how I ended up doing that, but I went from furries and like furry memes and all kinds of stuff to now it's just rednecks fishing and then catching fish and cooking them. I don't like fish. I watch these videos. Every time they come on, I watch the whole fucking thing. I don't skip them. I don't swipe up. I sit and I watch the whole thing. I watch them cast out. I watch them do their own little technique to try and catch the fish. They catch the fish. They take it home. They fillet it. They cook it. I'm bricked up. I watch the whole fucking thing with like notes. I take my notepad and I'm not going to cook this shit, but I am enthralled with it. And I don't know why. I don't have any desire. I mean, I like to fish, but I live in fucking Phoenix. So there's no realistic fishing holes out here. I come from a place where there's a lot. Maybe that's what it is. It's nostalgia, but I don't know. I fucking love watching these fucking fishing videos where people are telling you like what bait they're using. Usually it's just one guy and he does his voiceover thing where he's like crank dat and he has an old Coleman grill and he makes his fish that it's usually catfish. But yeah, I fucking love that I'm seeing so many fishing videos. I've graduated from furries to fishing. So shouts out Instagram Reels. Oh, also Facebook cooking videos.
Seltzer water break.
So, what I mean by this is, I'm seeing these fucking people on Facebook that are like, I don't know if it's just TikToks that they also post onto the metaverse or whatever, but what I'm seeing is, usually it's like a person in their kitchen and they have a fucking casserole dish out or a crock pot and they're like, easy dinner. And then it's them taking some kind of meat, throwing it into a fucking crock pot with an entire brick of cream cheese, and then being like, my secret weapon, Danos. And they've got fucking seasoning. And then they just start dumping this nasty fucking honky seasoning all over everything. And then they're like, just put it on high for 9 hours. And then boom, you have fucking spinach dip. I hate that shit. And I don't know why I'm seeing it so much. I do know, like, that there are probably genuine people that are making, I hate to say the word fucking content, but they're probably making content that's based off of like actual cooking and like things that are more exciting to see. I'm not seeing that. The shit that I'm seeing is like how to make dinner when you're a broke white 18-year-old girl in a trailer park with 5 kids. And then it's just sausage and pancakes. That's the kind of shit that I'm seeing. Or it's other fucking overweight white people that are throwing meat into a crock pot with some kind of liquid and then a brick of cream cheese and then a shitload of some kind of seasoning that they're trying to apply. Every fucking one of these people has like some kind of seasoning or like some kind of like, I don't know what you call it, like a brand of seasoning that they're trying to start. And it's goddamn obnoxious. I'm so sick of seeing people like, oh, this is Dano's put your grandma in a headlock seasoning. And then he's go yum yum, get you something. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I hate you. I hate all of these fucking videos. So this is I guess what the point is I've gone from furries to fishing and then to Facebook cooking, and I'm pissed again. So god damn it. It's been a roller coaster of a day. What's next? Oh, the word honky. I kind of already said this one, but honky. I say this so much that I use it like it's not a racial slur. I say it like it's not offensive. I've said it at work. I've gotten to work and I'd be like, what's up, honkies? And then I'll usually have like one person who's like, did you just call me a fucking honky? And I'm like, yeah. What's up? Hey, honky. I love that word. I think we should bring it. I think it should be more colloquial. I think people should be calling each other honky more often. So this is my campaign. Call your friends honkies. I don't care if they're white. Just call them honkies. And if they are white, fucking double down on it. If they're like, did you call me a honky? Look them dead in the fucking eyes and be like, yes, I did. What are you going to do about it? Because it's nothing. That's the answer. Nothing. They're not going to do anything about it. But I did want to transition into my final point of this rant that you're listening to, this long-winded, verbose rant, wife swap. So my girlfriend and I have been watching Wife Swap, and it is fucking exhilarating. So you start off, and these are old episodes. They're usually like around 20 or creeping up on like the 20-year mark. That's how old they are now. I remember watching this when I was a kid, and it was as entertaining then as it is now. So like I'm sure you kind of understand what it is, but if you don't or you haven't watched Wife Swap before, so all it is they take two families. Usually there's a contrast between them. So like, for example, one of the ones that we watched was this like redneck woman who she lives out and she has a wood cutting bit. Like she chops her own wood. Stand-up lady. Everybody fucking loves her. Like her family loves the shit out of her. Her kids, she does everything for her kids. She's just a fucking saint of a woman. And then she goes to New York and lives in a penthouse with this fucking millionaire and his wife, who's like 20 years younger than him. And she spends like, I think it said somewhere around like a couple $1,000s a day. She goes shopping every day. So that's kind of like that. But anyway, what I've been seeing is why I was bringing this up. I've never been compelled to look into these people. Like there's been Wife Swap for a long time. It's not new. Other than like, there's ones with like Dee Snider or Mick Foley, fucking Mankind does like an episode. But beyond that, I don't really look into who these people are or like anything that happened following them doing the show. But I've been seeing people on TikTok who, in like one of these people, I don't remember the last name of the family that was like, but anyway, the Penthouse family, their kid is like, Wife Swap ruined our life. They're not the only fucking people that are doing that. So I've been seeing this on mostly TikTok because I was trying to find stuff out about this family from yesterday. They're called the Deacons and the McCaslins or something like that. Their son is like very obviously like, I don't know, just watch the episode. I don't know where it's streaming. I don't know, fucking whatever. There are people that are coming forward on like TikTok to talk about how Wife Swap ruined their lives. And so they talk about how Wife Swap made them sign like an NDA, or they ask them, it's like a 7-hour interview and they have to be isolated and by themselves or whatever. But I have heard also that these families made fucking bank. Like they cashed in so heavily on all of the money that these fucking I don't understand it. But anyway, the show is fucking exciting because you watch these people that are just like, usually it's people that are like very realistic. It's like, oh, one of them, the McCaslins and the Deacons, they're like this bodybuilder family, and then they go and live with like these fucking frightening, like, so the lady is like obsessed with being a lady. So she wants to be like the ideal image of femininity. It doesn't matter. She wants these kids to learn how to be ladylike. She wants to express her joy and her fascination in the world of being feminine. So she hosts like tea parties and stuff. The lady is fucking frightening. Like there's something about the depth behind her stare that just like it rattles me to my fucking core. It reminds me of when you have like a scary elementary school teacher, where like this like a grown woman who comes to school and she's mortal enemies with a fucking 9-year-old. That's what it reminds me of. It's like that, but. Then the bodybuilding family, the lady who the wife that gets swapped, she turned her house into a gym, and her house used to be like an elementary school or something to this effect. But anyway, super, super cool lady. She seems like a fucking sweetheart of a person, and I wish that I knew her and her husband. But her daughters are very, like, they're also into the world of bodybuilding, and this fucking nightmare of a woman who does the tea parties. She's in their house and just like has the gall to like tell these girls that they're too masculine, or like she literally makes one of them cry by just going in on how like they're not pretty, they're not dainty. And how does the family repay her? But by being fucking awesome to her the entire time. They literally throw her own tea party, and they make sure that she gets to feel like a queen. Shit that she does not deserve. And then her husband, who from the jump, he seems like a fucking like a real piece of shit. Like him and his son, and like his son is obviously, or maybe like it just very feminine presenting also. And so the dad does not seem like he would be cool with this kid being gay. At least like not right out the gate. Then you come to find out that her husband has such a redemption arc in this episode. And it's really exciting. But the lady, I don't ever feel like she ever fucking redeems herself. So that's what I was trying to find out. That's how I found out about this world of wife swap ruining people's life. Can you imagine that, like, you have to say that with a straight face? Wife swap ruined my life. Yeah, you fucking asked to be on a reality TV show. You signed up for it. You went through the process. And then you signed the NDA. And now you're like, oh, I can't believe we did that. Shut the fuck up. You knew what you were signing up for one way or the other, you fucking prick. You made a shitload of money, and again, there are worse ways for your life to be ruined other than wife swap. Wife swap is not your fucking enemy. But anyway, that's where we're going to conclude this first half of the episode. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about Plus 44's When Your Heart Stops Beating. Let's go to the potty break. Hello and welcome to another potty break. I wish that I could do this like a newscast where I could just be like, thanks, Bruce. So thank you, Cody. Today, I'm going to be plugging a couple of my friends and also just, rattling off some Arizona bands that I think you should be listening to. So let's get right into it. First up, Phil the Band has a new song out called 13. It's an acoustic song. You can listen to it on YouTube and watch the video. Next up, we have Troubled Minds with the Sun song, parentheses, Darker Side. That one just came out. Also has a video. Go check it out. Celebration Guns has a new EP out called Enough Already. And we also have Practically People with a brand new album called Origins. Check out the band Prefect with their new album California Button Down. And last up, we have Ocean Eyes. My buddy Saban has a new song out called Drain, so go listen to them. But beyond all of that, there is a podcast called the Desert Rats Podcast that's hosted by Zach Perkins and Grant Becker. Those guys are phenomenal. Go check them out. Let's get back to this episode. All right, so today, the topic of today's episode is going to be Plus 44, When Your Heart Stops Beating, released on November 13th, 2006. Simpler times. I remember back then, and I was just a kid when this album came out. We've already established Mark Hoppus was my birthday buddy. I've always been a giant fan of his. Literally, from the time that I was a little kid, I was like the only kid in second grade in Sholo, Arizona that had a fucking Blink-182 t-shirt. So let's get right into it. I don't always do background on albums, but I did do background on this album. It is recorded by Mark Hoppus and Travis Barker. So they're the producers of the album, and also they recorded. I know that Mark does like engineering and stuff. I know that he's produced like Motion City Soundtrack and other bands like that, Newfound Glory, but executively produced by Jerry Finn, which kind of gives it that, I feel like that kind of sets it apart. That's the reunion that we didn't get later on when Blink-182 comes back. We don't get the reunion with Jerry Finn. R.I.P., dude. He's such a fucking legend, and like his influence, whether it be big or small, was so apparent in everything that he did. So like literally the greatest to ever do it, Jerry Finn. So interesting to me at least that this album, the band, the whole project was supposed to originally include Carol Heller as like a contrast vocalist, which kind of makes so much sense because there's such a giant Postal Service element to this album that like it would make sense that Mark wants to kind of go the female singer contrast route with like, I mean, obviously he split vocal duties with Tom DeLonge, not so much like not that drastic of a contrast between him and Carol, but later on they added Shane Gallagher and Craig Fairbaugh, which this is described as what the kids are calling a super group. So we got a super group, a perfect storm of events for Plus 44. One thing I really wanted to point out was how clever the title of the album actually is when you dig into it. When Your Heart Stops Beating, a dramatic title from a dramatic man. Mark Hoppus is a drama queen. But when you actually dig into like what he means by When Your Heart Stops Beating, I actually really fucked with this. And I didn't know this until I started doing some digging. There is a moment when you see something or when something positive happens that makes your heart skip a beat. Like you see the most beautiful girl in your life and your heart skips a beat, like that kind of thing. Something that happens right when you get nervous before something great happens. And so I like that because it's not as dramatic and it's actually got like a double entendre to it. Like When Your Heart Stops Beating is also symbolic of death. And this is like, the first album that comes out between these two after Blink-182 crashes and burns. So I like that that's what happened. And I like that that's what that means. Also, want to touch back on the Postal Service, The Cure, the Smiths, the Alkaline Trio, the different slew of influences that made themselves so much more apparent in this album, I think is what kind of like gave it this new stand apart type of energy to it that I really, really fuck with. I obviously I'm a big fan of passion projects. I like that these guys were able to forge something so positive and like it's so progressive for them in like the way that they're, able to translate their influences to their audience. So I really like that there's different elements of hip hop. There's different elements of, and this is around the time that Travis Barker's doing like drum remixes and shit too, like for Soulja Boy and Crank That Soulja Boy. I like that he was doing certain things with like experimentation. He's always done those like rudimentary patterns that kind of like incorporate marching band type snare rolls into like he does them on like the ride cymbal. He's a monster. But anyway, so I love that this album does showcase a lot more. It's a different slew of inspiration. But what I want to point out is that this originally, when they were talking about it, the album was supposed to be electronic, or like it started off as an electronic kind of approach to it because they didn't want to like get noise complaints. They didn't want the police banging on their doors at 2:00 in the morning. So their compromise was like using samples or using like sampled drums or electronic drums rather than being really fucking loud. So I thought that was kind of cool, but I did notice that they got slammed pretty hard for like, I don't think people really did a whole lot of digging into that, but they did see, you guys said it was going to be this. It ended up being more of a rock band. I think that's probably due to Jerry Finn's influence, and I don't disagree with it. It would have been really cool. Let me say that. But I think that electronic influence still makes it still rears its head in multiple different areas and different like ways throughout the album without the album being like, a straight up electronic album. So anyway, one thing I really wanted to share, which I thought was really funny, when I was like 9 or 10 when this album came out, I remember that I had the album and my little brother wanted it. And I was like, I don't know. My mom, the only way that you could get uncensored albums was from Kmart in Show Low. And so when you wanted to go get an album from Walmart, it always came with the amended or the edited version of it, which like for other bands that were putting out music at the time, like fucking All American Rejects put out Move Along around the same time. All of those albums that I had, they could be edited, but Plus 44 was something that needed to be raw, I think, because I wanted to hear the bad words. I was a little kid and I wanted to hear the bad words. But I told my mom, I was like, oh, I don't know if you should get this album for my little brother because it's got bad words in it. And she's like, oh, well, what are the lyrics? And like, should you even be fucking listening to it? And I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't think about that. So she made me go get the lyric booklet out of the sleeve of the jewel case. And first off, though, I do want to highlight, I love the artwork, the art direction of the album. I thought it was so cool. Like you open it up and it's a big plus sign. And I had the pink version of it. And I think I also had the green version of it. I bought the different colors of it. It was different splatters that they had. But I had the CD. I was a little kid. I didn't have the turntable and shit. But I remember my little brother ended up getting the blue edited version. And that's because I had to sit on the couch and read my mom the lyrics. We start off on the first song on the album, which is Lycanthrope. And there's a part in it where he says, sex, fuck, and fluorescent lighting, and she made me say it. And then she got angry that was what we were listening to, and I was like, oh, shit. But then she kind of she lightened up. She let my brother and my sister listen to, whatever they wanted. So, I mean, eventually, Colton did get he got the blue edited version of it, so sorry about that. That was my fault, but I thought that was funny. Anyway, so what I was saying, though, when people started to really, really dog this album. They really shafted Mark Hoppus for this, and Travis Barker. And so here's why we're geeking, and here is also a little bit of defending. That's the point of this. Lots of defending, because I think that this album fucking rules. When I go back and listen to it, it takes me back to certain times of my life, but it's not in the same way that Blink-182 does. It's something that's different and it's special in its own way. There's been times where I listen to this album and it's been a state. I remember, so just for reference, I throw on this album and I do think about being a little kid growing up and being in junior high, or I guess most people call it middle school. Where I'm from, it was called intermediate school. But I get that, and then I also, I throw it on, and I'm 22, and I'm driving home from Tucson, Arizona, and it's 3:00 in the morning, and I'm trying my hardest to stay awake, and I'm just screaming the fucking lyrics to Little Death, just trying to stay awake. And so and it's such a special night that I can remember listening to this album all the way through. I do associate it with so many different points in my life, but that's why we're defending it. So let's get into why I'm defending it. So there was critical backlash from this album, and it underperformed commercially. It didn't sell as well as they thought it was going to. And it also didn't get the stellar reviews that they thought it was going to, which is wild, because I remember seeing in some place, an Explore page or some shit, just screenshots of what people were saying. It was Kerrang specifically. The Kerrang review of Plus 44 was brutal. I've always just thought of this album especially it's special, and I always thought that most people felt the same till I was reading reviews of when it came out, and I was like, holy fuck. So I did kind of just pull a couple quotes, and I'm not going to cite my sources on every single one of these. If you really, really want to do the digging, you can do it. Lacking originality. That was a big one. It lacks originality. Hoppus, whose flat vocals once dovetailed deftly with Tom DeLonge's nasal whine, is sorely exposed as a soul frontman. God damn, that fucking sucks. That would suck to read. That sucks that they listen to you sing, and then they're like, oh man, when you used to sing with this whiny nasal, whatever the fuck, however they describe Tom DeLonge, that was where you stood out. But now that you're by yourself, yeesh, that fucking sucks. But Plus 44, that's the name of the band we're talking about. It's also the dialing code from the United States, from the United Kingdom into the United States. So Kerrang, who I said was brutal. This is the quote that I'm talking about. Plus 44 are accomplished and adept, and sometimes they're even very good, but never once are they exciting. That is such a brutal and fucking so it's one of those hugging you but hitting you scenarios where they're like, oh yeah, they're technically established musicians, but they're not exciting. That's a fucked up thing to say, and I'm going to dismantle a little bit of this. So where this comes from is that it wasn't as good as Blink-182, which I take that how you want, because I mean that's like saying Stone Sour is not as good as Slipknot, sure, but it's not supposed to be that. You know what I mean? And also, I just want to say, Mark Hoppus, this vocally from him and lyrically is his best for so many reasons, but Mark sings his fucking balls off in this album. I think that it's the most impressive you ever hear him sing. Personally, the backing vocals, because he doesn't have Tom, he has to kind of like pull double duties, and so that's not always very easy to write your own vocal harmonies and then go in and sing way higher than yourself. And I really appreciated. You can hear it, especially in songs like "Little Death" or like "Baby Come On." There's these like really high backing vocals that he does, and they're pretty impressive when you think about what a low register his voice naturally has. I don't think he could sing in that same register anymore, just because of like, I mean, obviously the cancer stuff, and like just naturally his voice has gotten lower as he's gotten older. But still, stands to be noted that he did sing fucking great in this album, and I do think about that a lot. Lycanthrope, such a great opener. Lyrically, this album is Mark's best. To me, I think that this is Mark's best album lyrically. So a couple examples of this would be, you know, this is kind of the one that people draw back to when they talk about this album. The past is only the future with the lights on. Mark Hoppus has said himself that this is the best that he's ever, this is the best lyric he's ever written. And I did have to do kind of like I really needed to think about that for it to make sense to me. So I think what he means by it is like the cycle of life. And so, you know, the future is uncertain, and the past gives you insight into the future when you learn from it, if you choose to learn from it. And if you don't, then you're doomed to repeat the cycle of life, which is mistakes. And that's kind of what that song is about. Very clever songwriting, in my opinion. I think that that's given me a lot of inspiration. And also, like I said, just even the way that they incorporate their influences into a new sound has prompted me to go and revisit things that not to revisit, but to like explore into territories that I hadn't really heard before. I hadn't really heard of the Postal Service before this album came out. I didn't even know that Ben Gibbard had a different band. And that was like junior high era when I first heard about the Postal Service, which is one of my favorite bands and like a huge influence on me. This is kind of where it came from to like, you know, put the initiative forward to go look into that. So anyway, some of the other lyrical standouts from this album. Please understand, this isn't just goodbye. This is I Can't Stand You. What a brutal fucking line. Who's he talking about? I don't know. You remember when Tom and Mark were like Drake and Kendrick? Well, this is the first song that he put out for this project, and directly he added Tom. But they didn't even have Twitter back then, I don't believe. But he added Tom DeLonge. He said, please understand, this isn't just goodbye. This is I Can't Stand You. What a great fucking line, and also just a brutal way to be like, dude, don't fucking write, don't text, I'm changing my number, I'm getting my hair cut, I'm washing my balls, and I never want to see you again. So that's from No It Isn't. No It Isn't is such a great fucking song. I listened to that one probably more than like any other song from like this era of the We Don't Need to Whisper and the When Your Heart Stops Beating stuff came out around the same time. This song, man, when I first heard it, I was just like so over the moon about the style change, but also just like I'd never really understood what he was talking about. It made me think more. And like I said, when I read my mom those lyrics, that was where lyrics became like a focal point for me, where I was like, holy shit, I don't understand what that even means. Like sex, fuck, and fluorescent lighting? What is he even talking about? Or I'm on the teeth of a crocodile, I'm in the mouth of a gun, or whatever he says right there. Which I think is exactly what he says, right? We're on the teeth of a crocodile. We're in the mouth of a gun. Weird, is obscure a little bit, but when you dig and you kind of understand like where he's coming from with it, this album changed the way that I listen to music, because I was then listening to what he was saying and trying to understand what he means, and also forging my own interpretation of these things, because I didn't always like I being a kid or being me and not, you know, Travis or Mark Hoppus, I don't understand what they mean specifically, but you get to forge your own meaning, and I think these songs took on their own life for me, and it was really important and special. And so the song Little Death, I remember he says, your death by information won't disturb the peace on distant stars. Very nihilistic in a way, and when I go back and listen to it, I was kind of like, you know, the older I got, or like when I was going through it and I revisited this album, Little Death has always been such like a mainstay for my just like, let's be sad today and let's throw on a couple songs. This one's in the sad playlist. This is the one that I listen to when I'm bummed out. And I fucking love this song. I love the way that he delivers the chorus, especially. It's such a cool contrast of like, you get to hear how low his voice can go, and then you can hear how high his voice can go. And also, the older I've gotten too, like, I'm 27 now. I believe when they came out with this album, they were probably like early 30s. So I'm getting closer to where they were in life, and starting to understand like more of where they're coming from. So again, multiple layers to why this is like kind of stuck with me. A little death makes life more meaningful. And this is a theory of mine. Little death is a reference to orgasm. So like it's like les petites, whatever. It's like a French slang term for like, it translates to little death, but it's talking about orgasms, not actually dying. And so I wonder, in some way, is this like a weird sex reference that he hid in here, and then like in a song that's like sad and tragic and nihilistic? I don't know. I would like to think so, but I can't confirm or deny. I wish that if Mark Hoppus, if he ever hears this, first off, I want you to apologize for never telling me happy birthday while I've told you happy birthday. And also, can I get some clarity on that one? Is this a hidden sex reference? Anyway. Cliff Diving was a song ruined by a relationship, past relationship. But I've been able to reclaim it. Fuck me, can I even talk today? I've been able to reclaim that song in recent years and just kind of like understand what it was that drew me to it in the first place. I love the chorus of that song. Comes a promise of summer, and the drums in this album, first off, Travis Barker is a fucking monster. He's a machine. He is a unit. We've all experienced this. We all know this. But Travis Barker's drumming in like When Your Heart Stops Beating, the song, the way that he approaches that chorus is so goddamn creative. We've sat and tried to like just figure out like, well, I mean, obviously like in hindsight now, it's been like 15, 20 years, but how did he even come up with some of the shit that he was writing? Because there's so many like little flares and little like riffs that he adds to these songs that makes them more special, and it sets them apart from just being like, another pop punk album, in my opinion. I think that he also, in the song Interlude, which is the most, true to the electronic elements that were the early foundation for this album, that is another showcase of Travis Barker just being like very creative and using weird sounds in different spaces to create what ultimately becomes Interlude, or even in this case, Cliff Diving. I love that chorus so much, but I think what it is it's just the simple guitars with the drums being like the more creative part. So the chorus is very catchy. Comes a promise of summer, but the background, the drums are doing a little bit more busy stuff, like the busy, like the heavy lifting of the song. It just really gives it like the youthful energy that the song is trying to convey. And like Cliff Diving is just such an important and special song to me. So, I'm glad I got that one back. I was able to put my shit aside and just remember to enjoy it. But also, I love the way that he just kind of portrays like these reckless teenagers, which I'm sure it's like kind of autobiographical for Mark Hoppus. But yeah, Travis, Mark really just fucking nailed it on that one. But he says, "Dear you, tonight, let's get ahead of ourselves." I love that line, and that's been like a mainstay in like just, I have it scribbled on stuff because like I love that, and it just reminds me of like the Descendants, but like a more like Descendants mixed with like Blink-182 type vibe. So anyway, moving right along, we have the Weatherman, where he says, "We're human shapes burned on concrete walls. These days, the sun don't shine here anymore." What a creative way to signal the end. And that obviously, he's talking about Blink-182. It's the end of Blink-182. We are human shapes burned on concrete walls. These days, the sun don't shine here anymore. Comes from a place of honesty. And that's another thing about this album is you get to really hear these guys wear their heart on their sleeve. And they don't really pull any punches. They definitely stayed away from the press at this point in time. They weren't the ones that were, publicly slamming each other. And then they waited until this album was ready. And then they were able to like back up the shit that they were talking with some like work to kind of like put the balls behind it. So I do appreciate that. Very great lyric writing for me on that one. I really like that. And so another thing that I wrote down here, just another little tidbit from No It Isn't. Let's slit our wrists and burn down something beautiful. What a fucking good line, dude. Sometimes I hear things and I get frustrated because it's so good I wish I came up with it. And that's another one. Let's slit our wrists and burn down something beautiful. Okay, so I want to highlight towards the end of this album, because the album is kind of split in half in a really great and like beautiful way. Because it really starts off with like these pop punk anthem-esque type songs, because I wouldn't really call them that, but they're definitely the more like Blink-182 reminiscent stuff. So the second half of the album is where you get into like Lillian, Weatherman. There's also, I think, 155 with Technique. No, it's 155 is on the first half of the album. But so we're getting into Make You Smile. These are the last two songs on the album, and this is like where I really want to just focus in on these ones. So Make You Smile. I fucking love that song. And I also love Nothing Better by the Postal Service. And this is the Mark Hoppus version of a Postal Service song, and I love it so much. I love the drums. There's electronic and acoustic drums, or like a natural kit in this song, and it's executed to me so perfectly. I really, really love it. I love the contrast of Mark's voice with Carol's. It's so beautiful and haunting and sad, and I can't ever stop listening to it enough. Like, it's so great, and it's such a good song. It's one of his best. I feel like it's one of his best. And when I listen to it, I feel like when she says going deaf from the sound of the DJ, I picture like that scenario. I picture what she's talking about. I couldn't see with the smoke getting in my eyes. I think about that, and I feel like I'm living it, and I'm reliving something awkward and painful, and it's just so well done and executed so perfectly to me that I feel like it's impossible to talk about this album or even just like Mark Hoppus as a songwriter without putting emphasis on Make You Smile, and then wrapping up this album quite literally with the song Chapter 13. So, song about suicide. The other one would be Adam's song that he writes about suicide. And Mark Hoppus, he's really good about writing about suicide, it turns out. Chapter 13, a little bit of lore behind this one would be that Chapter 13 is the Dante's Inferno. Chapter 13 is about suicide. So that's why the song is about suicide. It's very specific. But in my opinion, and this might be a hot fucking take, so saddle up, I think that this is Mark Hoppus' best song. This is the best Mark Hoppus song. To me, when I put it on, I am literally fucking jealous about how good this song is. It's so fucking perfect to me. Such a great way to end the album, but also there are lyrics in this song that have guided me in so many aspects of being a songwriter. And so, perfect example of this would be the very first verse. He says, "And my heart hangs from this noose, like your footsteps in crowded rooms, filled with sweet scents of autumn blooms. Is this what you imagine? Catch a glimpse from her empty stare, hidden eyes behind her auburn hair. Catch my breath for the smoke to clear, and it's just as it should be." Then the chorus is, "My best laid plans will build and break your heart. Her guilty hands tear my whole world apart. My mind keeps racing. She's softly dreaming. I'm scraped and sober, but there's no one listening." When you go through certain things, like I've gone through, and I'm sure a lot of other people have, the way that this is put together is like a mirror to yourself about feeling depressed or feeling suicidal. And the way that the song is put together, it portrays like this person seeing this woman and then going to what I would like a hotel room and killing himself. And so when I listen to this song, especially there's a lot of really descriptive lyrics in this album. And like, I won't just focus on this one. Another example of this would be, "You smile while you're twisting a knife in my stomach till everything is gone." But in Chapter 13, the description, the way that he paints such a perfect lyrical image that puts you in this place, like he does it in Make You Smile, and she does it in Make You Smile as well. It is hard for me to picture another song that is as well executed or as meaningful to me from Mark Hoppus. I'm a big fan of Mark Hoppus. I'm a big fan of Tom DeLonge, and I'm a big fan of Travis Barker. But with that being said, with that being, established, I don't I can't think of a song that Mark has written that is better than this. And that means, like, I think that he said that other song, like, I mean, he says that Baby Come On might be his best song, but I don't know, man. And this is on this album, When Your Heart Stops Beating. And it's an album that for some reason is disputed. But another hot take is that When Your Heart Stops Beating is just as good as the Boxcar Racer album. And I have the Boxcar Racer album signed behind me. I still think When Your Heart Stops Beating is just as good. But drawing back to that one line, my best laid plans will build and break your heart. The way that he puts this together and the way that I interpret it is your best laid plans can go one or two different ways. So what he's talking about in one sense, his best laid plans will build her heart because he's trying to make her fall in love with him because he loves this maybe it's infatuation or maybe it's like actual love that he feels for this person. He wants to do what he can to win her over, right? So he's doing these things that will make her fall in love with him, or maybe like just gestures to show his love for her. And in this way, you know, they're establishing something, they're building a bond or a connection, and they're forming like what is going to become something beautiful. And this is your way of showing him. And this is planned. This is the way that he plans to do things. But when it breaks your heart, he's talking about killing himself. And when you get to this like darker side of it, and it's kind of like it's delivered in a way that's just like my best laid plans will build and break your heart. And if you don't really stop and think about like what he means by that, it could be more of like just a throwaway line, but it's really not to me, because when I think about it, I'm like, what a fucking clever bastard Mark Hoppus was in saying things this way and laying them out this way. You make me think about all the beautiful things that he would do for this person, but also ultimately taking his own life. So that is something that I think is worth noting with this song in particular. And so, with that being said, we're heading into my wrap-up, my final thoughts. What are my final thoughts on Plus 44's When Your Heart Stops Beating? Well, continuing the trifecta of Blink dudes being fucking great, it goes Boxcar Racer, Untitled, and then When Your Heart Stops Beating. So at first, it wasn't as good as Blink-182, but surprise, surfucking-prise, it sounds like Blink-182, and people were baffled. Okay, that's like saying, you look like your dad. It's so crazy. I can't believe you look like your dad. No, motherfucker, it's my dad. If I would be baffled if you look like my dad, because we don't have the same dad. But literally, it's two of the same fucking dudes from the band you're talking about. Who would have ever guessed that they sound similar to each other? Motherfucker, they don't just sound similar, it's the same people. What do you fucking mean? The other dude quit. And I appreciate that, because I think that him not being there, the lack of the Tom DeLonge influence, gives you Mark and Travis in a way that you've never heard them before. So with that in mind, When Your Heart Stops Beating is every bit as creative and just as fucking good as Boxcar Racer. And you know, obviously, there is another variable, like a constant, and that would be Travis Barker. He's in both of them. And you know, he's a great songwriter, and it shows. It showcases in both of those. But also, with that being said, When Your Heart Stops Beating does not deserve to be written off as Blink derivative. There are moments in this album where it just fucking cooks, dude. Like, if you just let these cats cook, they'll make some magic. And that's what happens. It's brutal. It's honest. It's cute. It's sad. It's nostalgic and introspective. But most of all, it's learning how to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and say, let's show these motherfuckers what we're made of. And that's exactly what they fucking did. So that concludes my take on Plus 44's When Your Heart Stops Beating. And every single week, I like to have the guest do a top three. I don't have a guest today. I am my own guest. And so since we're playing with myself today, I want to do my top three, which can be books, music, movies, TV shows, whatever I'm into. I'm going to take a different approach to this, and I'm going to do my top three Mark Hoppus edition. So my top three Mark Hoppus albums would be, first and foremost, the Untitled Blink-182 album. I think that that's still his best body of work. And that's not to say that I don't thoroughly enjoy everything else that he's done. I think that some things are better than others. That is the best, though. The Untitled Blink-182 album, that's the best Mark Hoppus album. Second off would be Dude Ranch, which it took me forever to realize that Dude Ranch is a cum joke. I never thought about that. And then when I realized it and it finally clicked in my head, I was like, oh, sperm. Gotcha. And then, wrapping things up would be When Your Heart Stops Beating, the album we're talking about right now. The guest of honor today, When Your Heart Stops Beating from Plus 44 is probably my number 3. And, I did think about this one a lot. It would have to be a toss-up between that and something else, but for the life of me right now, I don't know what that something else would be. So we're going to stick with When Your Heart Stops Beating in the number 3 spot. So thank you guys for listening along. Like I said earlier in the episode, there are only 2 episodes left, including this one. So next week, next Wednesday, will be the season finale of Visceral Musings. And my guest is, I'm not going to say anything actually. I really am excited for people to hear next week's episode. So if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram at @ThatRollerPig. Follow this podcast on Instagram at Visceral Musings Pod. Keep up to date with us. I post a lot of stuff on my stories. I like to get these Q&A things going. So if you see them and you have something, even if it's not directed at me, just ask a fucking question and I will try to incorporate it into every single episode. Sometimes they'll be the week of, like when I post them. It could be the next day that you hear your question being answered. It could be, next week or even the week after that. So it's fun. Play along. I love getting questions. I love when people are actually watching this. Also, one thing, if you do listen to this episode, if you make it all the way to this point and you're listening on Spotify, there is an option for people to review the podcast on Spotify. I'm up to like 8. If you don't mind, I would love you forever. I would run my fingers through your hair and tickle your back. If you leave a review, I would appreciate it so much. Give me 5 stars or give me 1. First 1-star review I get, I'm fucking quitting. I swear to God. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. My name has been Cody Reed, and I will see you next Wednesday. Let's have the title music play us out. What do you say?